This punk is really out here bullying a defenseless old man in the middle of the street, demanding to know the location of some elf girl like he's on a desperate side quest. And when the poor guy can't give him an answer, he just shoves him to the ground. The crowd is whispering about this local gang of orphans, wondering why the guards are totally useless. Meanwhile, the tension is rising as people realize the Demon King's army is actually wrecking everything. Entire noble houses are getting wiped off the map, leaving the whole world in absolute flames. Our aggressive little thug is getting annoyed that the villagers are watching him like a circus act. He's getting impatient and violent, clearly ready to snap if he doesn't get his way immediately. The old man is just trying to survive while this psycho keeps screaming for him to drop dead. But suddenly someone steps in and catches that fist. The real show is about to start. Our blue-haired hero steps into the spotlight, looking completely unbothered by the local drama. He tells the thug to back off, while the old man watches in total shock. The punk tries to act tough, questioning who this kid thinks he is playing hero. But our guy just smirks, clearly having already figured out their entire pathetic little plan. He demands to be taken to their leader, offering a chance to avoid a beatdown. That thug loses his mind, lunging forward with a desperate, amateur swing at his face. Suddenly, the attacker is flat on his back, looking like he just saw a ghost. He's sweating bullets, wondering how a simple flash of light just completely wrecked his day. Our hero just claps his hands together, mocking the guy for walking into such an easy loss. Now he's leaning in close, eyes glowing with a threat that promises a world of pain. The gang is still obsessing over that elf girl, screaming orders like they're actually going to find her. Their leader is absolutely losing it, slamming his fist down because his crew got folded by one guy. Suddenly, the barn doors fly open as our blue-haired hero kicks his way into their little clubhouse. The whole room goes dead silent, with every goon staring at the intruder like they've seen a ghost. Our hero looks around, totally unimpressed, and starts roasting his guide for bringing him to this dump. Sejamel is clutching his swollen face, desperately trying to prove he's not just some random navigator. The hero isn't having any of it, grabbing the guy by the head to make sure he stays focused. One of the lackeys steps up with a rusty blade, trying to act tough while the boss watches. Our hero ignores the goons entirely, locking eyes with the leader to ask if he's the one causing trouble. The boss just grins, clearly underestimating the absolute nightmare that just walked through his front door. Eldmia isn't playing games, demanding to know why these creeps are hunting his sister. The gang leader just smirks, clearly thinking he's untouchable while plotting to sell her off. Our hero's face darkens, realizing that talking to these bottom feeders is a total waste of time. He turns his back on them, casually reaching out to grab the heavy wooden door. With a single motion, he slams the door shut and locks it, sealing their pathetic fate. Blue energy starts crackling around him as he prepares to drop the hammer on these goons. One of the lackeys is actually laughing, pointing at the sword like a total moron. Eldmia grabs the metal bar and bends it like it's made of cheap plastic. The gang leader's jaw hits the floor, his smug expression replaced by pure, unadulterated panic. Our hero introduces himself with a terrifying calm, while the goons realize they're completely cooked. The gang leader is absolutely losing his mind, screaming at his boys to stop flinching. He's convinced that sword is just a prop, barking orders for them to finish the job. Eldmia just stares them down with that cold, calculating gaze, totally unfazed by the noise. He realizes these aren't just random thugs, but a pathetic operation holding innocent people captive. The hostages look absolutely terrified, huddled together while the goons prepare to swarm our hero. Blue energy begins to swirl around Eldmia's boots, signaling that he's done playing nice. He launches himself forward like a blue streak of lightning, closing the gap in a heartbeat. The leader's face goes from arrogant to pure shock, realizing he's made a massive mistake. Eldmia winds up a punch glowing with raw power, aiming straight for the boss's ego. He slams into the leader with enough force to shatter the floor, ending the fight instantly. Eldmia goes full demon mode, eyes glowing with that terrifying, supernatural intensity. The remaining goons are absolutely shook, watching their boss get folded like a lawn chair. Our hero stands over the wreckage, dropping a cold warning that they'll never forget. He makes it crystal clear that messing with him is a one-way ticket to disaster. The scene shifts to a peaceful home, a total 180 from the carnage we just witnessed. Cecilia is waiting for him, looking disappointed as she calls him out for his violent streak. She's clearly the only person on the planet who can actually lecture this powerhouse. Eldmia tries to play it cool, acting like he didn't just commit a felony for her honor. He claims he couldn't just sit back while those losers talk trash about his big sister. She sighs, struggling to stay mad at her little brother despite his obsession with throwing hands. Cecilia is sitting at the dinner table, giving her brother the classic, "Why are you late?" interrogation. Eldmia tries to play it cool, admitting that wiping out the gang was the easy part. He flashes back to the barn where he's staring down those terrified kids. The hero is visibly annoyed, realizing these aren't war orphans but just a bunch of lost runaways. He grabs one of the kids by the cheek, basically telling them to stop being a nuisance and go home. The kids scramble out the door in a panic, clearly terrified of our blue-haired powerhouse. Eldmia watches them go, wondering why they're still hanging around instead of heading back to their families. The kids look absolutely crushed, admitting they don't actually have a home left to return to. Our hero realizes these kids are genuinely stranded, so he takes the time to find them a safe place. He tells his sister that he just wanted to give them a break, since he knows exactly what it's like to be alone. Eldmia laughs off his own sentimentality, clearly feeling a bit awkward about getting all emotional. Cecilia immediately tackles him in a hug, totally hyped and proud of her little brother. The two of them sprawl out on the floor, reflecting on how 3 years just flew by. She admits that their current peaceful life feels like a total fever dream compared to before. He stares at the ceiling, wondering what kind of twisted fate they would have faced otherwise. The scene shifts to a ruined village, setting the stage for a dark trip down memory lane. We see a younger, terrified Eldmia clutching a sword while struggling to catch his breath. Standing nearby is a shackled Cecilia, looking completely broken as she wanders through the carnage. She stumbles toward him, barely conscious and clearly traumatized by the horrors of that day. It turns out that 3 years ago, the world literally ended for them in a pool of blood. Cecilia is sprinting for her life, looking absolutely terrified with those magical shackles weighing her down. The gang is hot on her heels, tearing through the village like a pack of rabid dogs. Their leader is losing his mind over the potential payday, threatening his crew with death if they fail. Meanwhile, Eldmia is caught in a moment of silence, clutching that locket like it's his only anchor. He snaps the locket shut, his expression hardening as he prepares to unleash some serious chaos. One of the goons is getting chewed out for being useless, while the boss keeps barking orders. The leader is fuming, convinced that the restraint collar on her neck makes her an easy target. Poor Cecilia is backed into a corner, her eyes wide as she desperately scans for a place to hide. She makes a break for it, bursting through a doorway in a frantic attempt to escape the net. Now she's huddled in the shadows, praying that her luck holds out just a little bit longer. Cecilia is cornered, looking absolutely panicked as she stares down the threat. Her brother is clearly losing his cool, his eyes wide with a mix of rage and disbelief. He's ready to snap, charging up a blue aura like he's about to go full Super Saiyan on these goons. The magical collar around Cecilia's neck starts to spark, causing her immense pain as she struggles. She lets out a gut-wrenching scream, the raw agony of the restraint finally breaking her composure. The gang leader is shouting that he's finally cornered his prize, completely oblivious to the incoming storm. Cecilia is panting on the floor, exhausted and terrified while her brother looms over her. The goons are dragging her away like a piece of luggage, showing zero mercy for the elf. She's not even thinking about herself, just praying that the kid she hid is still safe. Turns out she shoved that kid into a closet just in time, hoping he stays invisible until the coast is clear. The goons are huddled up, whispering about some kid they found hiding near the elf. Suddenly, the boy is out in the open, kneeling on the ground with a sword in hand. His eyes are wide with pure, unadulterated terror as he realizes he's totally surrounded. Cecilia is watching from the sidelines, absolutely devastated that the kid got caught in this mess. The gang leader is grinning like a shark, realizing he's just stumbled onto another payday. He looms over the boy with his blade drawn, acting like he's doing him a favor. The poor kid is sobbing, desperately clinging to the hope that his parents are still alive. Those scumbags are just laughing their heads off, mocking the boy for being so hopelessly naive. The leader leans in, his face twisted into a cruel sneer as he drops the brutal truth. The boy is left completely shattered, finally understanding that he's the only one left standing. The gang leader is straight up monologuing like a villain in a low-budget flick. But before he can finish his power trip, the kid's sword just goes absolutely nuclear. That thug gets sent flying with a massive spray of blood, looking completely bewildered. His crew is losing their minds, screaming about how their buddy just got folded. They're scrambling for their weapons, panic setting in as the situation goes south fast. Our blue-haired kid is standing there, looking just as confused as the rest of them. He's trembling as the sword starts vibrating with some kind of weird, dark energy. Those goons are backing off, terrified that they've accidentally triggered a legendary demon blade. They're sweating buckets, realizing that this kid might actually be a walking natural disaster. The whole squad charges in, desperate to kill the boy before that sword finishes waking up. Cecilia is screaming for the kid to run, her face twisted in pure, desperate terror. That thug is still yapping about taking the sword, completely oblivious to his own impending doom. He lunges in with his axe, eyes wide and manic, thinking he's about to hit the jackpot. But Eldmia is already moving, a blur of blue energy slicing through the air like a razor. The kid is moving with terrifying speed, his blade glowing as he closes the distance. He's locked in, eyes glowing with that same intense blue aura, completely focused on the kill. The gang member is panicking, realizing he's way out of his league against this absolute monster. One clean strike later, the guy is getting absolutely shredded by that mysterious glowing blade. Celia watches in shock, finally realizing that the power her brother is wielding isn't a demon's sword at all. Eldmia stands amidst the wreckage, his posture tense as he warns the kid to stay put. This unhinged thug is holding Celia hostage, threatening to end her right then and there. He's literally gagging her to keep her from warning the kid about his dirty tactics. The guy is sweating, trying to justify his greed by calling the elf his precious merchandise. He's absolutely obsessed with that blade, practically drooling over the thought of claiming it for himself. Meanwhile, our blue-haired hero is looking completely zoned out, ignoring the guy's pathetic threats. The thug is losing his mind, screaming at the kid to hand over the weapon. Suddenly, the sword flies through the air like it's got a mind of its own. The leader is shocked, reaching out with greedy hands as his prize drifts away. He's sprinting across the dirt, desperate to snatch the blade before it slips through his fingers. But the hero just watches him fail, dropping the bomb that the sword was never cursed. Eldmia sits amidst the wreckage of his hometown, looking absolutely exhausted after the brutal slaughter. He's venting his frustration, screaming about how he's only been alive for 8 years and already seen enough hell. Celia stares at him in disbelief, finally realizing that the weapon he wielded was never actually a demon's sword. The flashback shows him tearing through the bandits with a terrifying, supernatural blue aura. He was playing mind games, using their own fear against them to keep them completely off balance. He even scavenged a blade from a corpse to finish the job, showing a level of cold-blooded efficiency that's honestly chilling. The kid is just sitting there in the dirt, looking like a lost puppy despite the mountain of bodies around him. Celia asks the million-dollar question, wondering why he risked everything to save her from those goons. He brushes it off, claiming he just couldn't stand by and watch his home get torn apart by these losers. She looks at him with wide eyes, finally piecing it together and asking if he's actually a mage. Eldmia is keeping his guard up, clearly having overheard some sketchy intel from the local bandits. Celia stands there looking defeated, her magical collar glowing as she confirms the grim reality. Our boy just flashes a cynical grin, making a dark joke about the existence of gods. He holds out that mysterious blue orb, straight up asking her to strike a deal with him. She stares at the object in total shock, realizing this kid is playing for keeps. Eldmia lays out his terms, offering to break her chains if she sticks by him for 8 years. He asks if she'll stay by his side until he's finally grown up and can handle the world. The kid admits he's got absolutely no one left to rely on, making his desperation hit hard. He declares he's done with this dying village and is ready to fight for his own survival. Eldmia looks back with a look of pure determination, ready to face whatever hell comes next. A friendly local villager grabs Eldmia from behind, trying to snap him out of his deep, brooding thoughts. The guy keeps chatting away about the recent gang drama, clearly oblivious to how much he's annoying our hero. He recounts how the gang was spiraling out of control, eventually becoming a massive threat to the entire village. The villager is practically beaming with joy, praising Eldmia for absolutely wrecking those punks with a single brutal strike. Eldmia looks totally unimpressed by the praise, clearly feeling like the guy is just stating the obvious. The villager keeps pushing his luck, trying to hand over a shiny red apple as a token of his gratitude. Our hero just stares at the fruit with a blank expression, wondering why this guy is making such a scene. Another shopkeeper jumps into the fray, yelling at the guy for giving away merchandise that doesn't even belong to him. Suddenly, the mood shifts completely as a familiar voice calls out to Eldmia from the crowd. He turns to see 2 kids he saved from the gang, their faces pale as they finally recognize their savior. The kid is gasping for air, looking like he just ran a marathon to deliver some bad news. He stammers out a warning about some shady characters trying to snatch them up. Eldmia's eyes widen in pure shock, the realization hitting him like a freight train. Everything he built, the peace, the quiet, the safety, is going up in flames again. He's haunted by the memory of that day, the smell of smoke and the sound of steel. That feeling of being completely helpless is rushing back, clawing at his throat. He remembers the blood on his hands, a constant reminder of the life he tried to leave behind. Ogwyn was supposed to be his sanctuary, but now it's just another target for these vultures. Celia is the only thing keeping him grounded, the one person he refuses to lose. His hand clenches into a fist, his aura flaring as he prepares to hunt down whoever dared threaten her. These 2 random thugs are cornering the girl, acting like they own the place. She's not backing down an inch, demanding to know who these clowns think they are. The goons just brush her off, telling her to stop yapping and start walking. A mysterious cloaked figure watches from the back, questioning if she's actually the right target. He's obsessed with the red hair and the age, convinced he's found his golden ticket. The cloaked guy gives the order to drag her away, promising a fat reward for the capture. One of the thugs grabs her arm, but she's clearly ready to throw hands. Suddenly, a blur of motion hits the scene. It's Eldmia coming in to wreck their day. The cloaked kidnapper loses his mind, totally shocked that someone actually dared to interfere. Our girl sees her savior arrive, and the look of relief on her face is everything. Eldmia drops the hammer on the goon, pinning him to the dirt like a total amateur. The cloaked stranger is absolutely fuming, demanding to know who this kid thinks he is. Our hero doesn't even blink, firing back that he's the one who's actually in charge here. His eyes are burning with that cold, intense blue fire, ready to end this whole circus. The hooded guy is clearly rattled, muttering about how he never expected the girl to have a bodyguard. Eldmia calls him out for being a pathetic loser who relies on bottom-tier thugs to do his dirty work. He stands tall with Acilia behind him, making it clear that touching her is a death sentence. The kid gestures for the guy to bring it, mocking him to stop yapping and start fighting. He's practically begging for a challenge, daring the stranger to try and take him down first. The cloaked operative finally snaps, drawing his blade in a desperate, last-ditch effort to save his ego. The cloaked operative lunges with a lethal strike, but Eldmia is already moving to intercept. That masked goon's eyes go wide in pure disbelief as his blade meets empty air. Eldmia isn't just dodging, he's winding up a counterpunch that's going to leave a mark. The attacker's face contorts in shock, realizing his precision strike was totally countered by a kid. Suddenly, a cloud of grit fills the air, blinding the operative at the worst possible moment. He's clutching his face in agony, screaming because he can't see a damn thing. Our hero doesn't hesitate, delivering a brutal blow that sends the guy flying backward. That kidnapper hits the dirt hard, completely disoriented and struggling to regain his footing. Eldmia stands over him, looking calm and collected while demanding the full story. The operative is fuming, his pride shattered as he realizes he's been outplayed by a brat. The cloaked kidnapper's eyes widen in pure, unhinged rage, screaming that he'll end his enemy. He spots the commotion from a distance, his hood pulled tight as he tries to process the chaos. The guy is clearly losing his cool, realizing he's surrounded by too many witnesses to make a clean getaway. Suddenly, a massive explosion of dust and debris rocks the area, creating a perfect smokescreen. Eldmia coughs through the thick haze, his eyes scanning the area while he checks his surroundings. The hero realizes the kidnapper has vanished into the chaos, leaving him with nothing but frustration. He turns his attention to the remaining goons, who are cowering on the ground like pathetic cowards. Eldmia looms over them with a terrifying aura, demanding they spill every detail about the man who just fled. The terrified thugs beg for mercy, blubbering about their orders to lure a red-haired girl into the forest. Our hero stares at them in total confusion, wondering why these idiots are obsessed with some random noble. These low-life thugs are busy spreading rumors about a wealthy noble survivor from the war. They're practically salivating over the massive reward money they'd get for turning her in. Eldmia isn't buying any of their nonsense, cutting through the chatter to demand answers about the kidnapper. The goon is sweating bullets, swearing on his life that he has no clue who that hooded freak was. Our hero sighs, sensing the guy is actually telling the truth for once. He leaves the two losers tied up on the floor, deciding to let the local guards handle the trash. Checking on his sister, Eldmia makes sure she's physically okay after that close call. She's clearly shaken, venting about how dangerous the village has become with these vultures lurking everywhere. He tells her to get some rest at the inn while he tries to process the chaos. Walking into the Alicia Inn, he's stunned to see it packed with the kids he saved, all safe and sound. One of the kids is panicking, pointing fingers and begging Ravi for some urgent help. Eldmia looks on, totally confused why these little guys are acting so short-handed today. The innkeeper Alicia pops up, looking absolutely thrilled to see our boy finally drop by. She starts gushing about him teaching those thugs a lesson, while he plays it humble. Alicia crosses her arms, noting how he just dumped a bunch of kids on her doorstep. She keeps rambling about how those runaways are actually doing a solid job around the inn. Eldmia looks genuinely surprised, acting like he had absolutely nothing to do with their sudden productivity. Alicia points toward Ravi, revealing she's the real MVP who's been running the whole show. He listens intently as the innkeeper praises Ravi for mastering the books and the menu. Our hero narrows his eyes, suddenly suspicious about how she learned to read and write so fast. The innkeeper is low-key suspicious, pointing out that someone her age shouldn't be this literate. She's clearly been watching Ravi work, noticing her grammar is actually better than her own. Meanwhile, a random villager is spreading wild rumors about a noble lady surviving the war. Ravi is just minding her own business when she suddenly feels a heavy hand on her shoulder. She spins around, totally caught off guard as Eldmia grabs her with a look of pure intensity. He's not playing around, demanding to know if she recognizes that robed bastard from earlier. She's visibly flustered, stammering for him to back off while her face turns bright red. He doesn't care about her personal space, dragging her away to get some real answers. Her heart is absolutely racing, and she's trying to figure out why she's so worked up. She's flashing back to his intense aura, realizing that even though he's a menace, he's kind of cool. Eldmia is spiraling, his face flushed as he tries to process his own chaotic thoughts. Ravi is totally flustered, begging for a breather while her eyes well up with panic. She's clearly not ready for this heavy conversation, her composure crumbling under the pressure. Eldmia looks completely lost, admitting that everything today has been a total fever dream. He stares her down, his eyes intense as he finally demands the truth about her identity. The tension is thick enough to cut with a knife as he asks if she's that missing noble. A ghostly image of a high society lady looms behind them, highlighting the massive gap in her story. Ravi tries to deflect, acting like she's just an ordinary girl caught in a bad situation. She's sweating, desperately trying to pass off her elite skills as a total coincidence. Our hero isn't buying the act, insisting that he needs the full story to keep her safe. Ravi is standing there looking absolutely wrecked, clearly holding back some heavy secrets. Eldmia tries to play it cool, giving her an out while he keeps his guard up. She's visibly startled, clutching her chest as the weight of the situation finally hits her. He drops the bombshell about that hooded creep in the forest, looking ready for war. She's totally spiraling, terrified that her brother is about to walk into a death trap. The hero stands firm, insisting that he's got to take out the trash before they strike again. A flashback reveals the shadowy organization, looking like a bunch of high-tier assassins from hell. Eldmia doubles down, telling her he won't let these scumbags hurt anyone else on his watch. She's still drowning in guilt, apologizing like it's all her fault that this is happening. He shuts that down immediately, reminding her that the only ones to blame are those kidnappers. Eldmia gives her a reassuring pat on the head, telling her to just chill out. He clenches his fist with a look of pure resolve, promising to handle the rest. Our boy looks absolutely fired up, declaring he's way tougher than anyone gives him credit for. Meanwhile, the villains are lurking under the moonlight, wondering how their target slipped away so easily. The crew is bickering around the campfire, blaming that meddling kid for ruining their entire operation. One of the goons tries to play peacemaker, but the hooded leader is clearly not having it. He's absolutely seething, swearing he'll hunt down that brat and make him pay for those tricks. His subordinate tries to keep things professional, reminding everyone that Delta ordered them to just wait. The leader snaps back with pure venom, clearly tired of taking orders from his own faction. Tension hits the breaking point as they draw their blades, sensing something moving in the dark. The goons are chilling by the fire, totally oblivious to the fact that their luck just ran out. One of them dismisses the noise as just some random animal, clearly not paid enough to care. But the boss isn't having any of that, barking orders to go check the perimeter immediately. Suddenly, Eldmia drops in like a blue-haired nightmare, moving faster than these clowns can even blink. He's already mid-swing, his blade glowing with that lethal aura as he closes the gap. The first thug gets absolutely folded, blood spraying everywhere before he even realizes he's been hit. That cloaked leader is staring in pure horror, realizing his worst nightmare just walked into camp. He screams for his men to finish the job, but it's already way too late for that. Eldmia is a blur of motion, slicing through the opposition with terrifying, cold-blooded efficiency. He's carving through the squad like a hot knife through butter, leaving nothing but chaos in his wake. Eldmia is locked in, his eyes glowing with that signature blue aura as he prepares to strike. He lunges forward with insane speed, his blade cutting through the air like a hot knife. The enemy is caught completely off guard, forced to backpedal while staring down certain death. Our hero doesn't give him an inch, closing the distance while keeping his sword perfectly leveled. With one clean, brutal motion, he decapitates the two nearest guards before they even register the threat. The cloaked leader is absolutely losing his mind, screaming in terror as he realizes who he's fighting. Eldmia just smirks, calling him out for being the same coward who ran away earlier. The villain tries to talk trash, but he's clearly shaking in his boots as he prepares to charge. They clash in a massive explosion of light, the force of the blow shaking the entire forest. The kidnapper's eyes widen in final realization, knowing he's just made the biggest mistake of his life. Eldmia strikes with a glowing blue blade, leaving the hooded goon absolutely shook by his raw power. The world's magic system gets a quick breakdown. Mages refine mana, knights build aura, but this kid is different. That kidnapper is spiraling, his mind completely blown that a mere brat is packing this kind of heat. Our hero doesn't even break a sweat, his eyes glowing with that intense, supernatural blue energy. He drops the ultimate flex, revealing he doesn't need to refine anything to unleash pure magical destruction. The fight is basically a one-sided slaughter as Eldmia blitzes across the field. He stands over the wreckage, mocking the guy for thinking he ever stood a chance. With a cold, detached look, he decides he's done playing around with these nobodies. One lucky survivor is left trembling in the dirt, realizing he's the only one who didn't get folded. Eldmia grabs the guy by the collar, ready to squeeze every last secret out of him. Eldmia has the survivor pinned, demanding the truth before things get even uglier. He's stressing about the time, worried his sister is going to lose her mind if he's late. Suddenly, a massive red wyvern screeches into the frame, looking like a total nightmare. Our hero reacts on instinct, swinging his blade at the beast with zero hesitation. That wyvern snaps back with terrifying force, forcing Eldmia to put his entire strength into the block. The kid is reeling as he realizes what he's actually looking at, a legendary wyvern. He's never seen one in the flesh before, but he knows they're the fastest ride in the world. The beast is clearly high maintenance and expensive, proving these kidnappers are backed by serious money. Eldmia realizes these aren't just some local thugs, but a group with deep pockets and dangerous reach. Just as he's processing the threat, he spots a second carriage, signaling this operation is way bigger than he thought. The thug is looking absolutely rattled as Eldmia's blade closes in on his face. Our hero isn't playing games, demanding to know the location of the other wyvern. The terrified subordinate spills the beans, admitting a knight named Delta took off on it. Eldmia realizes he's been played, his expression darkening as the realization hits him like a truck. He understands now that the entire fight was just a distraction to keep him occupied. The poor girl is shown unconscious and bound, completely at the mercy of her captors. A massive red wyvern looms in the background, carrying her away into the night sky. The kidnapper watches from afar, his face twisted into a smug, victorious grin. Isilia finally starts to stir, her eyes fluttering open as she tries to regain consciousness. She looks up in sheer terror, realizing she's trapped and flying high above the clouds. A massive red wyvern cuts through the sky, carrying the kidnapper and his prize away. Isilia is wide-eyed and shaking, realizing she's been snatched right out of her own life. The kidnapper keeps his cool, acting like he's doing her a favor by dragging her off. She calls him out for having zero honor, especially since he's supposed to be a knight. The guy just shrugs off her insults, claiming he'll do whatever it takes to finish the job. He tells her to stop struggling and just accept her fate, since she's clearly outmatched. She tries to bluff, saying the villagers will come for her, but he just laughs it off. The cold-blooded truth drops, he's already wiped out the entire inn to cover his tracks. She looks absolutely horrified, realizing the bloodbath he left behind to keep her capture secret. Even as she's terrified, she whispers that Eldmia is coming to hunt them down no matter what. The kidnappers are chilling in the woods, acting like they've already won the game. They're convinced that a little kid couldn't possibly survive their elite squad of goons. Meanwhile, Eldmia is sitting in the mud, looking like he's been through absolute hell. He's covered in blood and surrounded by broken blades, clearly having fought for his life. The villains are still talking trash, assuming the kid is already dead and buried. Back at the hideout, Eldmia is looking sharper than ever, his eyes burning with pure focus. He's regretting not ending this sooner, his expression shifting into something cold and dangerous. High above the clouds, the kidnapper is still trying to gaslight Isilia into submission. But suddenly, a blue blur drops from the heavens, striking the wyvern with lethal precision. The kidnapper's face goes pale as he realizes his worst nightmare just caught up to him. Eldmia drops from the sky like a literal meteor, slamming his blade into the wyvern. The kidnapper's eyes bulge as he realizes this kid is actually insane enough to fight midair. Our hero is locked in, his blade glowing with that lethal blue aura as he forces the issue. He's literally hanging off the beast, turning this high-altitude flight into a brutal, close-quarters brawl. The kidnapper is panicking, wondering how this brat managed to pull off such a suicidal stunt. Blood sprays across the sky as Eldmia carves into the wyvern, forcing the creature to spiral. The villain is losing his mind, convinced there's no way a kid could track them this far. He scans the clouds, desperately searching for an accomplice he's certain must be helping. Meanwhile, the wyvern handler is sweating, terrified that their entire operation has been compromised. Eldmia just stares him down with those glowing, murderous eyes, ready to finish this once and for all. Eldmia is absolutely locked in, his blade carving through the air with lethal, glowing precision. The kidnapper is trying to talk big, acting like he's got the upper hand in this fight. Our boy doesn't even flinch, closing the distance while his eyes burn with that intense, supernatural blue fire. He's fully committed to the kill, screaming his intent as he lunges for the final strike. Suddenly, the morning sun hits the scene, creating a blinding flare that catches the kidnapper completely off guard. The villain's face contorts in pure panic as the light ruins his vision at the worst possible moment. He realizes too late that Eldmia calculated the sunrise to create this exact fatal opening. That realization hits him like a brick. He was the one being played the entire time. Eldmia doesn't waste a second, grabbing Isilia midair while the kidnapper is left reeling in the light. She's screaming in total shock as her brother pulls off the most insane rescue in history. Eldmia pulls off the impossible, snatching Isilia right off the back of that massive wyvern. The pilot is absolutely losing his mind, screaming about his mission and his freedom. Isilia is clinging to her brother for dear life, her eyes wide with pure, unfiltered relief. But the victory is short-lived, as a massive, jagged bloodstain blooms across Eldmia's abdomen. The adrenaline is clearly fading, and the reality of that brutal combat wound is finally setting in. She notices him slumping over, her panic spiking as she realizes he's pushing past his limits. The wyvern banks hard into the sunset, leaving them both vulnerable as they plummet toward the earth. Eldmia's eyes snap open in his own bed, his heart hammering against his ribs like a drum. He's disoriented, scanning the room until he spots Cecilia right there, watching over him in their home. She's been by his side the entire time, her gentle touch grounding him as the nightmare finally fades. Eldmia bolts upright in bed, eyes wide as he realizes he's finally back among the living. Cecilia is right there hovering over him, clearly losing her mind with relief and frustration. She's practically vibrating with stress, demanding to know why he had to scare her like that. Our boy tries to play it cool with a weak apology, but he's still totally dazed. She pulls him into a desperate hug, just happy to see he's actually breathing again. He awkwardly returns the embrace, feeling like a total goof for causing all this drama. Cecilia mentions the red-haired girl who's been camping out at their place every single day. Suddenly, the girl in question appears in the doorway, looking like she's seen a ghost. She rushes over to tackle him in a hug, completely ignoring his need for personal space. Eldmia gets a smack to the chest for his 3-day nap, while he just grins through the pain. The red-haired girl is acting all smug, clearly feeling herself while dropping hints about being a noble. She gets serious fast, her eyes welling up as she pivots to the real reason she's here. Eldmia looks totally caught off guard as she leans in, dropping the invite to the royal capital. He shuts her down immediately, waving his hand like he's swatting away a fly. She isn't taking no for an answer, pushing him to at least consider the massive opportunity. Our hero stands his ground, insisting he's got his own path and doesn't need their training. She tries to sell him on the knights, but he's already made up his mind. He doubles down, claiming Cecilia is the only master he'll ever need to follow. She drops a bombshell about the terrifying power of an elven mage, trying to shake his confidence. Just as she asks if he's ready for someone stronger, a mysterious armored stranger crashes the party. Out of nowhere, this absolute unit of a knight appears right behind Eldmia. Our boy is completely shook, realizing he didn't even sense this guy's presence until now. Rivi steps in to calm the tension, acting like she knows exactly what's going down. The knight greets Eldmia with a familiar title, leaving our hero totally confused and lost. He turns his focus to the red-haired girl, showing respect while acknowledging her safety. She stands tall and proud, revealing her true identity as the Margrave of the Rivian territory. Eldmia is spiraling, his brain melting as he realizes he's talking to a high-ranking noble. He looks at the map in his head, finally grasping how massive her territory actually is. The realization hits him hard that she's way more important than any local rumor suggested. Our hero stands there, completely outclassed by the sheer weight of the company he's keeping. The massive knight looms over Eldmia, looking like a literal mountain of plate armor. He drops the bombshell that he knows exactly who Eldmia took down in that fight. Eldmia isn't having any of it, snapping back that his business is strictly his own. Our boy is clearly heated, demanding to know where this guy was when Rivi needed saving. Rivi tries to jump in, looking stressed as she realizes the tension is hitting a boiling point. The knight stays cold and professional, telling them this is way above their pay grade. Eldmia is absolutely losing his cool, ready to throw hands despite the massive power gap. The knight drops the ultimate bait, suggesting that everything changes if Eldmia signs up as his disciple. Rivi looks like she's about to faint, finally confirming she brought this legend here for that exact reason. She introduces the powerhouse as the third sword of the king, a guy who was tight with her late father. Sir Ekaf stares down our boy, revealing he's done his homework on Eldmia's messy history. Eldmia's eyes narrow into slits, clearly hating that this knight is digging into his trauma. The knight brings up the graves of his parents, twisting the knife to prove his point. Our hero is visibly shaking, his teeth bared in a mix of pure rage and grief. He snaps, launching a desperate, fueled-up punch straight at the knight's smug face. Ekaf doesn't even flinch, catching that fist with a gauntlet like he's just swatting a fly. The knight keeps lecturing him, calling his fighting style sloppy and way too predictable. Eldmia tries to force his way through, but he's hitting a literal wall of steel. Ekaf's eyes widen with a hint of genuine surprise, finally feeling the raw power behind that strike. He counters with a brutal knee to the gut, shutting down the kid's outburst in seconds. Eldmia is buzzing, actually thinking he managed to land a solid hit on a legend. But the reality check hits hard as his eyes widen, realizing he's totally out of his leg. Ekaf doesn't even look bothered, just casually blocking the strike like it's nothing. Our hero is left sprawled on the floor, gasping for air while the knight looms over him. He's still got that fire in his eyes, barking back that the knight is useless if he's always late. Ekaf actually agrees, admitting that even the strongest titles don't stop the tragedies from happening. A dark flashback shows a village burning to the ground, proving that some things are just beyond saving. The knight reaches out, grabbing Eldmia's shoulder to force him to listen to the hard truth. He lays it out plain: the only way to stop the bleeding is to wipe out the demon lord's army for good. Ekaf stares him down, making it clear he's hunting for talent to join his crusade. Sir Ekaf lays it all on the line, promising Eldmia power beyond his wildest dreams. The knight demands he join the kingdom's forces to finally crush the demon lord's army. Eldmia walks away from the house, the weight of his decision hanging heavy in the air. Isilia stands by the old tree, watching her brother prepare to leave their quiet life behind. She calls out to him, her voice trembling as she realizes the goodbye is actually happening. He stops in his tracks, turning back to face her with a look of grim determination. The hero admits he has to chase this strength, even if it means leaving her alone. She opens her arms wide, asking for one last hug before he heads off to war. They embrace under the sunlight, a brief moment of peace before the long journey begins. The carriage rolls away into the distance, while a companion notices a mysterious new earring. Eldmia is flexing that new earring, claiming it's some ancient elven ritual to seal a promise. She's totally caught off guard, her face flushing red as she demands to know what he actually promised. He just hits her with a smug grin, playing it off like a total secret. She's clearly dying of curiosity, but he's not budging an inch on the details. The carriage rolls through the countryside, heading toward the massive sprawl of the royal capital. Looking out at the horizon, the scale of the Agatorf estate is honestly kind of intimidating. Inside the training grounds, she's staring at the wreckage of the practice dummies, totally spiraling. She's clutching a piece of paper, wondering how her father could possibly justify this madness. Gripping her sword tight, she vows to show this new guy exactly why the Agatorf name carries weight. Meanwhile, the carriage continues its journey, carrying the weight of a kingdom divided by blood and politics. The Game of Thrones is real, with the Rivian house being treated like a literal chess piece. Eldmia is pressing his sister for answers, wondering why she didn't just play it safe with the royalists. She looks absolutely crushed, admitting that being a protected survivor would have stripped her of any real power. The two of them are just sitting there, realizing that her entire life has been a calculated, dangerous performance. She explains that running to the authorities would have turned her into a puppet for their political agenda. Eldmia is clearly struggling to process this, his eyes wide as he realizes the sheer scale of her gamble. She paints a picture of her grand return, a dramatic comeback designed to win the public's heart. The logic is sound but terrifying, as she admits she needed to be the one to rebuild the family legacy. Our hero is still calling her out for being reckless, pointing out how easily she could have died. Sir Ekaf finally chimes in, confirming that even the knights were kept in the dark about her secret location. Rivi reflects on her journey, admitting she had to face those brutal hardships all on her own. She looks at Eldmia with genuine gratitude, acknowledging that he was the one who ultimately saved her. Eldmia offers a soft, knowing smile, clearly touched by her honesty and the weight of their shared struggle. He keeps it humble, brushing off the heroics by saying that her survival is the only thing that matters. The carriage rolls through the lush countryside, finally approaching the massive, towering walls of the royal capital. Sir Ekaf keeps his eyes on the road, casually dropping that they are going to arrive at the estate shortly. The carriage pulls up to the grand, imposing entrance of the Agatorf estate, looking like a literal fortress. Rivi gazes out the window, wondering how long it has been since she last visited this massive place. Sir Ekaf mentions his daughter Cheryl, though his tone shifts as he hints at her recent, difficult behavior. Suddenly, the carriage door bursts open with a violent slam, revealing a blonde girl who looks ready for a fight. Eldmia looks completely blindsided, his eyes wide and sweat beading as he tries to process the sudden aggression. Cheryl is absolutely losing it, her face twisted in pure rage as she screams her challenge at him. The tension in the room is thick enough to cut, with everyone watching the awkward standoff unfold. She isn't backing down, doubling down on her demand for a duel to settle the perceived insult. Eldmia just sighs, looking exhausted and totally over the dramatic energy radiating off this girl. Ekaf tries to smooth things over, claiming this whole mess is just a friendly way to build a bond. Our hero isn't buying the act, calling out the knight for clearly improvising this entire chaotic situation. He shrugs off the drama, deciding that a little physical activity might actually help him shake off the travel fatigue. Cracking his knuckles with a grin, he steps up to the plate and accepts the challenge without hesitation. The two of them square off in the courtyard, while the adults watch on, totally unbothered by the impending violence. Sir Ekaf is sweating bullets, realizing his daughter is officially off the leash. Cheryl stands ready with her blade drawn, looking like she's about to absolutely wreck someone. She lunges forward with terrifying speed, closing the gap before Eldmia can even blink. Their blades clash in a shower of sparks, the impact vibrating through the entire courtyard. She's screaming at him to get lost, her face twisted in pure, unadulterated rage. Eldmia fires back with his own heat, calling her out for being a total hypocrite. They trade blows in a blur of steel, neither of them giving an inch. Cheryl decides to stop playing around and goes for a lethal, high-speed strike. She watches him narrowly dodge the blade, her eyes narrowing as she tracks his movement. The girl smirks, confirming that she knew exactly how he would react to the attack. Eldmia pulls a slick move, dropping low to dodge her strike while closing the distance. Cheryl is fully committed to the kill, swinging her blade with enough force to shatter stone. Sparks fly as their steel meets, but Eldmia is already shifting his weight to counter. He unleashes a burst of that signature blue aura, knocking her weapon clean out of her grip. She freezes in total disbelief, her eyes wide as she stares at her empty hands. Our boy stands tall, his blue energy flaring up as he dominates the flow of the duel. The sword clatters to the ground, leaving Cheryl completely stunned by how fast she got disarmed. Eldmia looks totally bored, asking if she's finally satisfied with this little temper tantrum. She screams at him to stop playing around and finish the fight like a real warrior. He shuts her down with a cold look, stating he's not about to get himself killed for her ego. Cheryl is dead set on her mission, making it clear she's risked everything to reach this point. She's got zero interest in heading back to the village until she's actually achieved her goal. Eldmia flashes that signature cocky grin, extending a hand to seal their new partnership. She stares at his hand for a beat, clearly processing the weight of this sudden alliance. Finally, she reaches out, their hands meeting in a silent agreement to stop bickering and start working. The two of them are still trading verbal jabs, proving that their competitive streak is far from over. Sir Ekaf and his companion watch the chaos with a smirk, noting how perfectly matched these two hotheads are. Eldmia is hyped up, shouting to the heavens that he's going to get stronger no matter what. Back in his room, he's absolutely gassed, pushing his body to the limit with some brutal floor work. The grind doesn't stop there, as he's out in the woods dragging a massive boulder like a total beast. Eldmia is just chilling on his bed, probably dreaming about his next big power-up. The window shows a bright, sunny day outside, perfect for some high-intensity training. But wait, the scene cuts back to a flashback of him clashing with Cheryl. Another look at the window shows a snowy, frozen landscape, signaling a shift in time. Our boy is standing shirtless in the freezing cold, channeling that wild blue aura. The window view shifts again to a peaceful, sunny morning with fresh buds blooming. Back in the present, Eldmia is grinding out push-ups like his life depends on it. Cheryl bursts into the room, clearly annoyed that he's still working out instead of moving. He's barely fazed by her yelling, just focused on getting his gear together. Looking shredded and drenched in sweat, he tells her he's almost ready to roll. We start off at this quiet, unassuming wooden cabin tucked away in the deep forest. Inside, the gang is counting their dirty money, looking way too comfortable with their haul. The boss is lounging back like he owns the place, totally oblivious to the incoming storm. He's bragging about how easy it is to exploit the rich folks in the capital. His goons are lapping it up, ready to keep terrorizing people for a few more paydays. This guy is literally laughing about how he never planned on letting his victims survive. Suddenly, a hooded figure emerges from the shadows, her face twisted in pure, icy disgust. She steps out of the darkness, her presence alone making the air in the room freeze. In a flash, she's got a blade pressed against the boss's throat, catching him completely off guard. The goons are panicking as Acelia finally makes her move, turning their little party into a nightmare. Acelia is absolutely fed up, her face twisted in pure rage as she demands they end this. The gang members are scrambling, realizing they've been flanked and are totally out of their depth. She's not playing around, her eyes burning with a cold, lethal intensity that screams zero mercy. Eldmia is perched high above like a predator, watching the chaos unfold with a sharp, focused gaze. He drops into the fray like a blue streak of lightning, moving faster than the eye can track. The thugs are losing their minds, screaming in terror as they realize their doom has arrived. Eldmia carves through the room, his blade glowing with that signature aura as he drops them one by one. He's locked in, his eyes glowing with a terrifying, supernatural light that marks him as a true killer. He closes the distance on the big guy, showing no hesitation as he prepares to end the fight. With a brutal, high-speed kick to the jaw, he sends the thug flying, ending the threat in a single blow. Eldmia delivers a brutal, high-speed strike that leaves the thug reeling in a spray of blood. The gang leader is absolutely terrified, watching his men get dismantled while he's pinned down. Our hero stands amidst the carnage, his blade drawn and his aura pulsing with lethal intent. The pathetic boss is begging for his life, his face twisted in a mask of pure, unadulterated panic. He's desperate to buy his way out, offering every coin they've stolen just to survive the night. Eldmia just stares down at him with a cold, dismissive look, clearly unimpressed by the pathetic display. He tells the coward that he isn't even worth the effort of a final, clean kill. The hero explains he needs these losers alive to serve as official proof of the guild's suppression. He cracks his knuckles with a menacing grin, promising to leave a permanent mark on the guy's memory. Eldmia leans in close, savoring the moment as he forces the villain to acknowledge his total defeat. The crew rolls up to the Adventurers Guild in the royal capital, looking for their next big payday. The receptionist is all smiles, handing over the loot and confirming the bandit suppression was a total success. Eldmia looks pretty pleased with himself, clutching that bag of gold like he just won the lottery. He turns to Cheryl, wondering why she's staring at a new quest paper like it's the Holy Grail. She's already planning the next move, pointing out that his vacation is basically over before it even started. Eldmia is visibly annoyed, scanning the document and realizing the bandit problem is getting way out of hand. Cheryl explains the situation is escalating, with a massive suppression request needing 60 people to handle the heat. She drops the bombshell that they'll have to trek all the way to a western vineyard for this one. He's skeptical about how they'll get permission, but she's already got a master plan brewing in that head of hers. A quick flashback shows her threatening to follow her dad to the front lines if he doesn't play ball. Back in the present, they notice a mysterious cloaked figure watching them from the upper window of the guild. A mysterious cloaked figure watches Eldmia from the shadows, clearly scouting our boy's every move. The guildmaster confirms this kid is the real deal, a total prodigy who hit the scene like a comet. He describes Eldmia as a ruthless machine who crushes anyone standing in his way without a second thought. The stranger in the cloak seems unimpressed, just coolly acknowledging the reputation of the so-called mad dog. Eldmia stands there looking sharp, totally unaware that his name is being tossed around by dangerous people. 2 days later, the crew arrives at a massive vineyard on the outskirts of the capital. Eldmia and his partners scan the crowd, trying to spot the client who called for this massive job. They lock eyes on a grumpy-looking guy, realizing he's the one who supposedly bought his noble title. Our hero is clearly skeptical, wondering what kind of trouble a guy like that is actually looking for. The client steps up to the group, ready to spill the details on this high-stakes suppression mission. The client points out the forest ruins, claiming 20 armed bandits are just chilling inside. He lays out a brain-dead strategy to surround them and wait for his signal to charge. Eldmia looks like he's just heard the dumbest idea in history, his eyes narrowing in pure disbelief. That wide-open field is basically a death trap, leaving them completely exposed to any ambush. The other adventurers are losing their minds, screaming at the sheer stupidity of charging in blind. Eldmia and his partner share a look, both realizing this whole mission smells like a setup. Baron Papera stands there looking smug, clearly plotting something that doesn't involve their survival. The spokesman tries to backpedal, acting like it's just a suggestion while the crowd gets heated. He keeps pushing the Baron's agenda, acting like these bandits are just easy target practice. The guy is grinning like a maniac, ready to drop the Baron's proposal on the group. The Baron's spokesman dangles a measly 5 silver coins like it's some life-changing fortune. A bunch of desperate mercenaries immediately start foaming at the mouth, ready to throw their lives away. Eldmia looks completely unimpressed, his face practically screaming that he's seen better bait at a flea market. He casually suggests that anyone who doesn't care about the pocket change should just dip. Our hero leans back, totally unbothered, while Cheryl stands right there ready to walk away. The spokesman looks like he's trying to process the audacity of these two, just ignoring the mission. In the background, that mysterious silver-haired observer watches the whole scene with a cold, detached stare. The guy's sharp blue eyes and calm expression make him look like a total wildcard. The spokesman finally caves, giving them the green light to go rogue just to get them moving. Before he can even finish his sentence, Eldmia and Cheryl are already vanishing into the forest. Eldmia and his partner lock eyes, both realizing the Baron's charge is a total death trap. Our hero's face hardens as he confirms the obvious: this entire mission is a setup. She doesn't mince words, pointing out that everyone else is walking straight into a massacre. Deep in the forest, a group of masked archers waits in the shadows, ready to strike. These goons are already gossiping about the two rookies, clearly excited to hunt them down. One of them laughs, bragging about the free pass they have to kill the duo. He mocks the other adventurers for being blinded by greed, calling them absolute idiots. Another thug chimes in, reminiscing about how pathetic their past victims looked while begging for mercy. He's practically drooling at the thought of seeing more terrified faces, totally oblivious to the danger. But Eldmia is already dropping from the canopy, blade drawn to turn the tables on these creeps. Eldmia strikes like a blur, his blue aura cutting through the air as he takes down the first bandit. The archer is left completely shook, staring in disbelief as his partner gets absolutely wrecked. Our boy doesn't stop, his eyes glowing with that intense blue light as he winds up a lethal punch. He connects with a brutal blow, sending the bandit flying straight into the trunk of a nearby tree. That impact is heavy enough to crack the wood, leaving the thug gasping for air in pure agony. Other bandits in the forest realize they've walked into a nightmare, screaming that it's a total ambush. They spot the rookie who split off from the group, finally understanding they're the ones being hunted. Eldmia stands ready with his blade, his movements fluid and precise as he prepares to clear the path. He unleashes a massive, glowing blue slash that forces the remaining thugs to scramble for their lives. The hero dominates the clearing, pinning the last archer down while the rest of the forest goes silent. The bandit archer is losing his mind, screaming in frustration as his shot misses the mark. Eldmia is already moving, his blue aura flaring as he dodges the incoming arrow with ease. The archer's eyes go wide in pure shock, unable to believe his target actually slipped away. Our hero doesn't hesitate, closing the distance and delivering a strike that literally severs the guy's arm. Blood sprays everywhere as the bandit's limb goes flying, leaving him completely defenseless and broken. The rest of the gang is panicking, shouting at each other to stay calm despite the carnage. They try to rally for a counterattack, but Eldmia is already standing there ready to end them. He looks absolutely lethal, his blade held low and his grin showing he's just getting started. Flashback to the duo discussing the Baron's trap, realizing they have to find proof before it's too late. Back in the present, Eldmia promises to save the greedy mercenaries, while his partner looks totally skeptical. Eldmia stands tall in the center of the carnage, his blade still dripping with the aftermath. He flashes a cocky, blood-spattered grin, satisfied that he's finally sent a message to the Baron. Our hero looks up at the canopy, wondering if his sister is having any better luck. He glances at the last conscious thug, deciding it's time to bounce before the real heat shows up. The bandit is completely out of it, his face swollen and eyes glazed over from the bedding. Eldmia looms over the guy, demanding a little conversation to get the info he actually needs. The thug is barely hanging on, his nose a bloody mess as he stares up in total shock. Meanwhile, Acelia reaches the ruins, her sharp eyes scanning the area for any sign of the gang. She looks focused and ready, determined to uncover whatever secrets are hidden in this forgotten place. A suspicious, pristine wooden shed sits in the middle of the crumbling stone, looking way too clean. Acelia creeps up to this weird, pristine wooden shed hidden deep in the ruins. She peers down into the dark, narrow staircase, wondering why a basement exists out here. The smell hits her like a truck, making her cover her nose in total disgust. Something brushes against her foot in the dark, and she's clearly losing her cool. She descends into the gloom, only to find a pile of mangled, bloody corpses. Back in the woods, Eldmia is interrogating the bandit, demanding to know about the collection. The thug is a total wreck, coughing up blood as he confirms the horrific truth. He spills the beans that the Baron's men ordered them to burn the bodies. Eldmia's face goes stone cold, realizing the Baron is behind this entire sick operation. The bandit gasps out that the executives are guarding the rest of the bodies nearby. Eldmia's eyes widen in pure shock as he realizes the Baron's goons are actually elite. Hearing that one of them can wield aura sends a chill straight down his spine. Panic sets in instantly because he knows Cheryl is currently walking into that exact trap. He stares down at the blood-soaked adventurer tags, confirming the scale of this sick massacre. These green rank badges prove the Baron has been baiting newbies for a long time. Acelia looks absolutely horrified while holding the evidence, realizing the true depth of the conspiracy. She stares into the dark basement, wondering why they'd hide such a massive graveyard underground. A heavy boot steps onto the wooden floor, signaling that someone is definitely watching her. The camera pans over the pile of corpses, showing just how many lives were wasted here. She looks up with a fierce, determined glare, ready to tear the whole operation down. Baron Papera is absolutely losing his mind, realizing his grand trap is falling apart. He demands to know why his lackey isn't in the forest, only to get a frantic report back. The Baron's face twists into pure, unadulterated rage as he hears that the brat is causing chaos. He orders his subordinate to stall the adventurers at all costs, desperate to keep his secret buried. Gripping his sword with white knuckles, the Baron decides he's going to handle this problem personally. Meanwhile, Acelia stands over a pile of bodies, her blade drawn and ready for the next wave. A bandit officer charges down the stairs, screaming that the Baron's plan is a total failure. Acelia sizes him up, wondering if this guy is actually an officer worth her time. She decides that talking is off the table, manifesting a fiery orange aura around her blade. The officer freezes in absolute terror as she prepares to cut him down where he stands. The bandit officer is absolutely losing his mind, screaming in pure terror as he stares down his opponent. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocks the forest, sending debris flying everywhere like a scene from an action flick. The guy gets launched through the air, completely caught off guard by the sheer force of the impact. Acelia stands her ground with her blade drawn, looking like an absolute boss as she demands the truth. The bandit scrambles on the ground, trying to talk trash about her aura while he's clearly outmatched. He thinks he's got the upper hand by calling for backup, but he's just digging his own grave. Acelia doesn't even flinch, keeping her cool while she stares down the group of thugs closing in. She drops the ultimate flex, letting him know that she's got her own backup waiting in the wings. Out of nowhere, Eldmia comes flying in like a blue streak of lightning, ready to wreck shop. The remaining goons look absolutely terrified, realizing they've just walked into a total slaughterhouse. Eldmia drops from the sky like a blue comet, absolutely wrecking the bandits in a single clean strike. One of the goons is losing his mind, screaming that their cover is blown because she has backup. The forest clearing is suddenly empty, leaving the bandits wondering where their target vanished to in the chaos. Cecilia is locked in, her blade glowing with that fiery aura as she prepares to finish the job. She clashes with the officer, their blades meeting in a shower of sparks that lights up the dark. With a single, brutal motion, she decapitates the guy, his head flying off before he can even react. Eldmia isn't slowing down, launching himself into the air to take out the remaining threats with surgical precision. He lands with his blue aura flaring, looking like a total menace as he prepares to strike again. The hero stands over the fallen, his expression cold and unbothered as he surveys the absolute carnage. He's left confused, wondering where the supposed aura-using officer went since he hasn't seen anyone worth his time. Cecilia checks in with Eldmia, asking if he found anything useful after the slaughter. He brushes it off, claiming the bandits were just cannon fodder with zero real value. She points toward the creepy wooden shed, noting it's packed with the bodies of fallen adventurers. Frustration hits her hard as she admits they still have no clue what the Baron's endgame is. Eldmia sighs, regretting that he didn't keep one of those losers alive for a proper interrogation. He quickly pivots, reminding her that he saved one witness who can link the Baron to the crime. The two stand amidst the gore, debating their next move while the mystery deepens. Suddenly, a flash of pink light cuts through the forest as a mysterious swordsman descends. Eldmia reacts instantly, his blue aura flaring as he prepares to clash with this new threat. The pink aura user lands, sneering at the duo and confirming he's the real boss of this operation. The Baron's face goes pale as he realizes his grand scheme is officially falling apart. He stares at the pile of bodies, finally grasping that his entire workforce is dead. Panic sets in as he clutches his head, mourning the loss of his precious political clout. Eldmia doesn't care about the guy's ego, demanding to know why he's butchering innocent adventurers. The Baron snaps, lunging forward with a glowing pink blade to silence the brat for good. Steel clashes against steel as Eldmia parries the strike, their auras creating a massive shockwave. The villain cackles, monologuing about how he planned to burn the bodies to fake a victory. Eldmia looks absolutely disgusted, his eyes wide as he processes the sheer scale of this insanity. The Baron explains he was going to use the corpses as props to buy himself fame. He grins like a total psycho, claiming he'll just hire more pawns to finish his twisted game. Eldmia is absolutely disgusted, staring down the Baron as he talks about using corpses for clout. The hero's blade flashes, perfectly parrying the Baron's strike in a shower of blue sparks. He follows up with a lightning-fast kick that sends the Baron reeling back through the air. Blood sprays from the villain's mouth as he takes the full force of that brutal impact. The Baron crashes into the forest floor, his body skidding across the dirt in total defeat. He looks up, completely dazed and confused, wondering how the fight turned against him so fast. Eldmia towers over him, his blue aura pulsing with a terrifying, cold intensity that screams danger. The hero looks down with pure venom, promising to expose the Baron for the absolute trash he is. He raises his sword high, ready to deliver the final blow while the Baron cowers in fear. The pathetic villain starts screaming for his life, desperately trying to shift the blame onto someone else. Eldmia stares down the pathetic bandit, his face twisted in pure, unfiltered disbelief. The guy is desperate, trying to pin his entire criminal career on some mythical demons. He cowers on the forest floor, begging for his life while claiming he was forced into it.